Good afternoon and welcome to our May 31st Rotary Club of Columbus meeting. I'd like to welcome you and ask you that you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this point, I'd like to call on Past President Michael if he would come and give us the invocation according to his faith tradition.
Thank you, President Cedric. Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we have come together as Rotarians, as your congregation. We thank you for all the blessings that you bestow upon us each and every day, and we thank you for the opportunity to fellowship with one another. We are so thankful to be part of an organization that embodies service above self. We ask for your blessings for our country, for its leaders and advisors, and for all those who exercise just and rightful authority. May this land under your providence be an influence for good throughout the world, uniting all people in peace and freedom. May citizens of all races and creeds form a common bond in true harmony to banish all hatred and bigotry and to safeguard the ideals and free institutions that are the pride and glory of our country. May we lie down in peace tonight and awaken tomorrow for a richer and fuller life. We ask that you now watch over the fine men and women that serve in our military, they and their families. We now thank you for the food that we are about to partake, and it is in your holy name we pray. Amen. And please do not forget the cans. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michael. Let us receive Austin, and she will come and give us our news.
Good afternoon, everyone. Here is a look at your headlines. The debt ceiling deal. The House will vote on the debt ceiling agreement agreed to by President Biden and House Speaker McCarthy today. The agreement suspends the U.S. borrowing limit until 2025, places limits on non-defense spending, broadens work requirements for certain adults receiving food stamps, reduces IRS funding, and restarts student loan repayments in August. Let's talk Columbus. Mayor Skip Henderson is holding a Let's Talk Columbus Town Hall Forum this evening from 5:30 to 7:30 in the City Services Center, where he will give an update on the city and provide an opportunity for citizens to discuss ongoing matters and concerns. The Dow Jones was down 265 points at noon today. Your weather forecast is cloudy with a chance of showers this afternoon with a high of 84 and a low of 65. And I hope that everyone enjoyed the long holiday weekend and especially enjoys a short week ahead. Have a great day.
Thank you, Austin. And we'll have Ms. Barber that will introduce our visitors and guests today. Barbara, if you would.
Thank you, President Cedric. Fellow Rotarians, as our guest, when I call out your name, if you don't mind standing up so we can recognize you today. Julie and Ian Bond have their granddaughter, Sophia Mims. Sophia? She's in the very back. Tyler Townsend has a guest. It's Caleb Bradley. Caleb, did you tell me this was your last week interning with Townsend Wealth Management? Glad to have you with us. Gail Burgess' guest is Danita Gibson Lloyd. Glad to have you. She is the COO of Girls Inc. Glad to have you. Bradley Fry is here, and he is the son of Pat Fry from New Horizons. Glad to have you, Bradley. Antonio Ledbetter is a guest of Debbie Cavallero. Thank you, and he's right from the start. Thank you. Natalia, who is the wife of our soon-to-be new member, Sebastian Vila. And last but not least, we have Adrian, and pronounce your last name, please. Thank you. Is a guest of Kazad Sharaf, and he's interning with Kazad this summer. Thank you all. Glad to have you with us. Let's give him a round of applause.
To all our visitors and guests, we thank you for being with us today and invite you to come back and join us at another time. At this point, I'd like to call on Dick, if you would come and introduce us to our Colonel Ralph Puckett, Soldier of the Week.
President Cedric, fellow Rotarians, I'm honored today to introduce you to Staff Sergeant John Petty. Staff Sergeant Petty is an infantryman. He's assigned as the Operations NCO of Bravo Company, 3rd Battalion, 81st Armor, over at Fort Benning. What that is, they're involved with the Maneuver Captain's Career Course, which involves infantry, armor, and other branches to come through here. How long is the course now? Is it 6
About
months?
6 months.
6 months, and then go on their way. Beyond that, Staff Sergeant Petty he's been in the Army for 19 years. He's had a combat deployment to Iraq. He has 1 more year to go before he retires. He has had in his past, while he was in Germany, he got his master's in business administration. And so he's heavily involved in a business involving pickleball. And that's what he's going to do after he retires. He's going to move out to Washington State. His wife is from Alaska, but that's about as close as Alaska as he wants to get. And then try to convince her parents to come on down and be involved in this pickleball business. His wife, Brittany, is from Alaska, and they have 2 children. They have a daughter, Cora, who is 10, and Stanley, who is 3. Is that correct? Or 6?
You get the
Backwards.
They're backwards.
Okay,
Yeah,
son
good.
Stanley, and ages back. But
She's
that's
6,
okay.
he's 10.
She's 6, he's 10, okay. And he doesn't let her forget it, I'm sure. Staff Sergeant Petty, on behalf of our club, I want to thank you and your fellow soldiers for all you do at Fort Moore for us. We have a certificate for you, short you as the Colonel Ralph Bucket Jr. Soldier of the Week. We have, oh, that's your bio, I already have that. We have in here a passport to the arts for you and Brittany, hopefully, to attend each, the River Center, the Columbus State Symphony Orchestra, the Columbus Symphony Orchestra, the paid attractions at the National Infantry Museum, the Columbus State University Theater Department, and the Springer Opera House. So next year you've got 5 good dates there. And we have for you a book written and dedicated to you by Colonel Ralph Bucket called Words for Warriors. In it is an insert that describes his actions that got him the Medal of Honor a year and a half, 2 years ago, I guess, pretty much on this date. And so take that, and with our thanks, there's supposed to be, was there a coin that I missed? We'll get you the coin. Don't worry about that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You want to say anything?
So I'm also on the board for the Columbus Pickleball Association. So if anybody in here wants to know anything about pickleball, what's going on in Columbus, let us know. We're having a meeting soon. I see some hands back there. But yeah, I can talk about pickleball for longer than my wife would like to admit. So if anybody has any questions or wants to know where to play, let me know. All right. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Staff Sergeant Petty, on behalf of the 280 members of this club, we again like to welcome you and thank you for being with us. Please take back to fellow soldiers on Fort Moore how much we appreciate what you do for us and what you all do for our country. Let's give him a hand again for being with us today. It's always great when we can introduce new members to our club. So at this point, I'd like to call on Ian. If you would come, followed by Andy. Where are you? If you would come, introduce us to our newest Rotarians.
Well, President Cedric, fellow Rotarians, I mean, we frequently say, here's someone who needs no introduction, and literally that is the case. Here is someone who needs no introduction. But today is quite unique, I think, certainly for our club and possibly throughout Rotary in Georgia. And that is our Georgia Rotary Student Program alumni, most of them go back to their home countries after their year here in Georgia. Many of them do go on to become Rotarians. Some of them do end up back in Georgia and become a Rotarian somewhere in Georgia. In my 20 years in GRSP, this is the first case that I'm aware of a student who was sponsored by a club coming back and joining that same club 8 years later. So just a couple of things that maybe you don't know about Sebastian. Of course, he comes to us from Colombia, and he was our 2015-2016 GRSP scholar at Columbus State for a year. Then he returned to Colombia, where he graduated from EIA University in Medellin with a Bachelor of Business Administration degree in Management Engineering. He then came back to Georgia and attended Georgia State, where he earned an MBA in Hospitality Management and International Business. And through the networking that he was able to do here in this club, he now is in the hospitality management business, working with Jack Peasold and Tracy Sayers in Valley Hospitality, and he currently serves as the general manager of the Hampton Inn, Fort Moore. So we're very proud to welcome Sebastian into our club as a full member. You all know, of course, Natalia, and we love seeing her, and she serves a lot as well. And listen, I know you feel like the last 9 months, we see him all the time. That's because, as a GRSP alumni, we've put him to work. And he's on several committees in our club already and doing great Rotary service. So, Sebastian, I want to present you with your Rotary pin and encourage you to wear that proudly wherever you go. And I know you hear us say this over and over again, but it is literally true. Wherever you go in the world wearing that pin, it will open doors of international friendship and opportunities for international service to make our world a better place. Please welcome Sebastian Villa.
Well, I just want to say a few words real quick. Looking back, it's been 8 years since I first came to you guys as a GRSP student, and this is the club that saw me grow. And for me, it was a no-brainer to join the club. I've always wanted it to. In fact, I've always wanted to make a difference. I've always wanted to be of service to others. I really wanted to make an impact, and I always told myself, the Rotary Club of Columbus, that's the place to do it. So for me, it's an absolute pleasure. It's a joy. I can't believe it. I can't believe that I am here, for the first time as a real member. So for me, it's an honor. It's a pleasure, and I thank you for letting me, for joining me, for letting me into your family. Can't wait to see what we can do together. Thank you.
So President Cecil, fellow Rotarians, it is an honor to introduce our new member, Mike Dempsey, today. And if you've been to Fort Moore in the last 13 years and you've done business with the commanding general or the command group, then you already know who Mike Dempsey is. He is a very familiar face. Mike has, during that time, he served as the secretary to the general staff, and then recently was promoted as now the Deputy Chief of Staff for the Maneuver Center of Excellence in Fort Moore. What does that mean? It means Mike is, and I'm kind of swallowing in my vomit when I say something nice about Mike. I've known him a while now. But Mike is the go-to guy. So, I was the operations officer at Fort Benning, later the garrison commander. And Mike was the guy that you went to when you needed something solved and solved quickly. He had a lot of the institutional history. He knew where the skeletons were buried. He also knew how to hunt the good stuff. He knew who all the other go-to people were. So he's always been a really resourceful person, leader at Fort Moore, and that's why he's now the Deputy Chief of Staff there. So some interesting things about Mike that you might want to know, because again, he's actually not much to look at. I'm giving him the Pat Donahoe treatment, because if you remember, my introduction was more of a roast. But some stuff about Mike that's pretty interesting. So Mike, former Army officer, he was commissioned as a military police officer initially, which tells me that he actually didn't study very hard in college, because military police are typically, the kind of the bottom dwellers. But he was smart enough to realize that he didn't branch well, and he became a special forces officer or a Green Beret. and he served with distinction in the Special Forces community for 20 years. Retired as a lieutenant colonel. He's bilingual, fully fluent in Spanish, and that was his area of expertise as a Green Beret. Another interesting fact about Mike, if you know anything, some of you have children that have played soccer here locally. Most of you know the local travel soccer club, formerly known as Red Star, now Concord Fire South. But Mike has been coaching our youth through that soccer club for a number of years, highly successful coach. And he's also coached at the high school level. Again, if you're familiar with high school soccer locally, the Pacelli boys team is a state powerhouse. But what you probably don't know is Mike Dempsey is the guy who made them a state powerhouse. So he retired from high school coaching a couple years ago, but he's a very accomplished coach. And then the last interesting thing about him, he fancies himself a rancher. Now, if you listen to Mike explain it, you would think he's running the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. But the one thing I'll say about that, most of you have heard the term like all hat, no cattle. All hat, no cattle. But again, ladies and gentlemen, an honor to have Mike now in the Rotary Club with us and as our newest member. So Mike, I'm going to present you with your pin and your badge as well. And just a reminder, you cannot sit with me at a table for the next calendar year. So it's the way it works here, all right? Welcome.
I'd hoped to have somebody else introduce me, somebody more accomplished. Thank you, I appreciate it. He didn't say I graduated from the Harvard or the West Coast, San Diego State. He was supposed to cover that. And he spent 5 years at West Point. It took him 5 years to get through a 4-year institution. But thank you, it's a pleasure. You're retired here in Columbus because we love the community. Both my sons graduated from high school in the community and graduated college in Georgia. So it's a pleasure to be part of this organization. Thank you very much. And again, I see a whole group of people that I would have preferred to have introduced me other than this guy having got picked you out. So thank you very much, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. What a picture.
Yeah, there's top 10 people.
Just a word to our new member, Sebastian. It's been a long time coming. Grateful to have you in the club, and just thank you for your diligence and sticking with us and just what you represent. Mike, likewise, contrary to popular belief, you look pretty good. And we call Mike Little Mike because, in essence, before Mike came, we had Mike Burns, which we classified as being Big Mike. So we'll carry that too. So whenever you greet him, let him know that's Little Mike. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for being a part of our group. Just a couple of announcements. The very back of the room, Amber is kind of sort of taking the lead with our career day. We really need your participation in that. So there is a spreadsheet at the back that you'll be able to fill in the dates and times that you would be available to participate in that. We really, really, really need your participation in that. Our kids and our community counts on us to give back. So we want you to be able to participate and do that if you would. And then tomorrow, Thursday, we'll have our in-person happy hour. And it'll be over at Moe's, which is in the Mid-City Yards, is actually what it's called, which is over off 6th Avenue. And that will be from 5:30 until 7:30. And just FYI, that serves as a makeup. So at this point, I'd like to call on Ms. Gale, if you would come and introduce our program for today.
Good afternoon. I have the pleasure today of introducing the chairman and the founder of Let's Grow STEAMx. David Britt is an experienced public professional with a background in leadership, tax administration, and Georgia law interpretation. He has served as the Deputy Tax Commissioner of Muskogee County since 2010. David is a Columbus, Georgia native, a graduate of Kindred High School and of Columbus State University. He has served on the board of directors and the technology team at the New Birth Outreach Ministry. And he is the father of one daughter, Sierra. And his favorite quote comes from Hebrews 12:1. Let us run with patience the race that is set before us. He will come up and share, as the chairman of the Let's Grow STEAMx, about the organization and his commitment to this community. And along with him, we have Robbie Bratscombe, who is the founder of Let's Grow STEAMx. I had the pleasure of working professionally with Robbie about 10 years ago, roughly. And prior to me retiring from TSIS, I was the CIO of the chief of staff to the CIO. And we had a very intentional strategic plan to engage and create a pipeline of workers here in the Chattahoochee Valley, working with various districts and superintendents. And so because of Let's Grow STEAMx, this is where the partnership came into play. So you're going to hear more about their organization, what it means to our children, and this community here in the Chattahoochee Valley. I bring to you none other than Britt David Britt.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here. Again, that quote, that favorite Bible quote, run with patience. It's my favorite because when you hear it, it seems running with patience, running as fast as you can, but having patience in the process, not waiting, not procrastinating, but still knowing that you have a destination to get to. And that's what we do with Let's Grow STEAMx. We teach kids and our future leaders, we call our kids future leaders because that's what they are. And we teach them how to run, but do that with patience and understanding your gifts and unlocking those potentials that you have inside. Our motto, future leaders grow here. Again, we call them future leaders and we show them how to grow now. This is our founding team, again, our president and CEO, Robbie Branscombe, also Tashi Singleton, and also Darren Lampkin. He's very integral in our River City Race program as our chief education officer. Now, I'm not going to read this entire slide, but I do want to touch on enrich, grow, and strengthen. And that's what we are doing with our future leaders. We introduce and reinforce STEAM concepts to them, and of course, STEAM science, technology, engineering, art, mathematics, and that little X factor is showing that there are other possibilities beyond that as well. We grow them by making programs that are attainable, that are fun, that are impactful, and that are most importantly applicable to that grade level, applicable to that age range. And we strengthen skill sets, we strengthen confidence, we strengthen workforce, and in doing that, we believe that we will strengthen our own community. Now, what is Let's Grow STEAMx? Well, instead of telling you what it is, let me tell you my why and of what kept me here for 6 years and why I do it. I don't know if you've ever driven at night and your lights are off and someone has to flash their lights to remind you to turn yours on. That's what we do with these children. So many of our children are driving around in darkness. They have so much potential in them. They have so much power that they can unlock, but they're still just in darkness about how to use it, how to apply it, where to go with it. And they need somebody to just flash their lights. Nothing big, just flash a little light to remind them to turn theirs on. And that's what we do through we have two flagship programs, our River City Race program and our Youth College and Career Expo. And I see many of our partners and many of people who have been very integral in that program. And we'll talk about that later in the presentation. But those are our two flagship programs, and that is how we flash that light. Now, first is our River City Race program, and it's comprised of three main races, but again, they are different programs that happen throughout those. And this started back in 2016. If you ever been to Columbus High School or seen that derby race going on that hill by Columbus High, that's us, that you have to thank for having to go around and being held up in traffic. So our Soapbox Derby Digi Racer program. This is the one we're giving an introduction into coding. And I see Dr. Lewis, we have a great partnership with Muskogee County School District. This is going to be a part of their summer learning program, and we are actually giving our future leaders an introduction into coding and engineering concepts. Now, it's just an introduction, but it is an introduction. So if you have a kid that may be failing in math, not doing well in science, but they're doing these programs, coding these race cars, And then they start learning, okay, this is what coding is, this is what engineering is. So when they go to school and later hear those concepts, it's not foreign to them. They're not intimidated by it. So you see they're coding their own vehicles, and we have community partners that work with them, and then once they code them, they build them, and then they race them and compete. And that's the fun part that comes in that they enjoy. Also, our mini car activity, and this is for 2nd through 8th graders. And here, this is where art is incorporated because they're building and designing and creating a smaller version of a derby car. Now, I want to draw your attention to one thing in that big picture. In the middle of the picture, you see a toolbox. You see children engaged, and there's not a tablet or a cell phone in sight. Now, we're big on technology, but we're also big on tools. And we can't call these students future leaders if they don't know the difference between an Allen wrench and a flathead screwdriver. So I'm proud that we are not only giving them those technology aspects, but we're teaching them just basic tools, screwdrivers, and how to apply the things that they learn. And that's when you see that light start coming on. We had one young lady, and she was working on her own car, and she had the screwdriver, and it just clicked. Hey, my dad's a mechanic. This is what he does. This is how he fixes his cars. So it's a team building, it's family building, but again, it also reinforces and teaches those skills that they're going to need for the future. And finally, our River City Race program. Now, this is our event for 4th through 8th graders. Schools are a part of it. Youth-focused community organizations are also a part of it. And here they design and build race cars in teams. And that team aspect, it causes team building. It enforces responsibility because they're responsible for their own car. And these cars have to be built to certain standards. They have to have certain weights. They can't go over certain weights. They have to be designed in certain ways. Certain cars are only applicable to certain races. So while they're building these cars, and they're also going through workshops, again, learning these STEAM activities. We had one student, again, wasn't the best science student. What do you need? I need this rubber part. Why do you need it? It's part of the brake. What does the brake do? It stops the car. How does it stop the car? By stopping it. No, how does it stop the car? Friction, and that was a term that he was working on in school, and he was able to apply it. So you see that light coming on, and you see that it's helping him apply something that he otherwise didn't really think he even understood, and he's doing it in real time. So that is what the things that are really behind our River City Race programs. Now, our other flagship program is our Youth College and Career Readiness Program. We've also called it the Youth College and Career Expo. I saw City Manager Isaiah Hughley earlier. He has been our race ambassador for several years. Again, great partnerships with the City of Columbus, with Girls Inc., with Muskogee County School District, with Fort Moore. We have Fort Moore's representation on our board. So again, it doesn't just take a village, it takes a community, and we are happy to have community partners and community sponsors. Now, you're looking at Lonnie Johnson. Now, kids or future leaders will know Lonnie Johnson as the inventor of the Super Soaker gun. And if you have small kids, if you have Nerf bullets all over your house, you have Lonnie Johnson to thank for that as well. But he's also a former NASA engineer and inventor, and he actually worked on a spacecraft that went to Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter. So we brought him here to Columbus to speak in front of future leaders. But if you notice, he didn't just speak to them. He was very helpful. He got in front of kids. He took his time with students that had questions for him, and allowing them to really interact with him, allowing them to be in the face of a person that have made those accomplishments. Again, it lets them see what is attainable and what is doable. So our College and Career Readiness Program, our College and Career Expo. Now, this is not just your normal expo. We're not interested in just having students come and go to the trade center and pick up some pens off the table, grab a few mouse pads, put it in their backpack and walk around. No, we have it packed with activities and things to do to really nurture their understanding of what their next step is going to be. This is just a few of those activities. One, we have seminars. Some, I believe, took place right in this room. And the seminars such as what's like your first year of college, seminars such as how to apply for scholarships. We always talk to students about scholarships. You will be surprised at how many do not even know how to apply for them. Things like entrepreneurship, again, that X factor. Everybody may not go off to college, but it is important that students and future leaders understand entrepreneurial concepts. We have entrepreneurs and business owners come in and talk to the students as well. We had the Probe Fair who partnered with us and brought over 80 colleges to our career fair, which made it a college and career fair. Additionally, if you look in that top picture in the left corner, we have mock interviews. And this is something else that is extremely important for our seniors and our juniors of working age. Again, our community partners volunteer. We bring leaders in. They sit, they have an interview, they have a resume prepared, and at the end of that interview, that volunteer gives them critiques on how they did. So every student, if they don't do anything else in that College and Career Expo, they leave out of there more prepared to find employment. That's something that we're very proud of. We also have different things for our younger students, our younger leaders, different technology experiments, different things that make that whole day fun. So they come in addition to that, that we also had people like Microsoft coming in, people like Amazon were here. So we have all different occupations, different leaders, different people all coming in to help build and strengthen our young leaders. Now, we also, in addition to Lonnie Johnson, another one of our keynote speakers was Aisha Bowe. She is also a former NASA rocket scientist, and again, she went around to different schools and spoke to some of our future leaders. Now, we all know how 2020 went. It was a year of excitement and things that we weren't really prepared for. So it caused us to make a big change, and in that big change, we did a virtual expo. And we found that to be very exciting, very challenging, but it was very well worth it. We had a lot of great sponsors with that. Again, sponsors like TISA, sponsors like Georgia Power, Pratt & Whitney, Girls Inc., Muskogee County School District, the City of Columbus. People really came in and really helped build and sow into our young leaders. So I want to leave with a few stats. Now, we started in 2014, and in 2014, we started with 53 future leaders. And by 2019, our program had gone, and this is our Youth College and Career Expo, had grown to hosting 3,327 future leaders, having 161 mock interviews. Again, 161 students left this trade center better prepared to find employment. We definitely focus on Muskogee County. This is where we're located. This is where we're headquartered. This is where we really want our future leaders to grow. We saw 1,507 Muskogee County students, 21 schools. And the great thing that we found out about the expo, with the virtual expo, it was a lot easier to quantify our success. Anyone who's worked in nonprofits know that it can be sometimes hard to really quantify what you're doing. It's important to do those things that are not quantifiable because you can't just put a number on everything. But you do have to maximize your efforts. You have to maximize your resources. And we found that to be a lot easier to do when it's going through a virtual process. So we found that we were able to see what our most popular booths were. We had 7,523 booth visits, which is the students were watching virtually, and this is how we gauge their interaction, so that we watched what they clicked on, what they went to, where they spent the most time at. We found that our most popular booths were Southern Company, Alabama Power, Georgia Power, AFLAC, TISA's, Amazon Future Engineers, and Columbus Airport. That's great information because that lets us know that our young people, our future leaders, aren't just looking outside to branch out. They're also interested in industries that are going on right here in our community. 90% of students were engaged. They said that their knowledge was increased. 90% of students surveyed said they had an overwhelming that they would recommend coming back to the event again. So it just showed us what we had already known, but we were happy to find out again that these things that we were doing were not in vain. They were enjoyable and they were impactful to our young students. Again, we have two flagship programs, the River City Race Program, the Youth College and Career Readiness Program. Since we've started, we've made an impact on more than 20,000 students with STEAM and college and career activities. We've sent a local gravity racer to Akron, Ohio for our River City Race Program. We actually did get to send one student, one future leader, to Akron, Ohio to compete in an international derby program. We've held 5 college and career expos, and we are working on another one coming up. And most importantly, we have expanded our community impact with our partners to over 150 local organizations, colleges, and universities. So again, we're doing great things in the community. We're running with patience. It's a run, and it really takes patience, but it's so worth it when you see that light come on in students, when you see those future leaders who did not know exactly where they were going to go after school, And even if they don't have a full 100%, I know what I'm going to do after school, they have an idea. They have a set goal. They know how to apply for a scholarship. They know how to apply for a college. They know an idea of where they're going to go. That's what we're here for, and that's what we're happy to do. So save the date, because we have February 13th through 15th. We will be having this year, we're going to do a hybrid. We'll be doing virtual as well as in person, February 13th through 15th. For more information, if you'd like to find out more information about us, we're at letsgrowsteam.org. Again, my name is David Britt. I thank you so much for your time. I would like to welcome any questions. And again, thank you, and thank all of our community partners for what you do.
Take any questions from the floor?
How does somebody participate? Is that all through the school system, or, somebody that's maybe in one of the private schools locally, or just how do we best get our young people connected with you guys?
That's a great question. So there are various ways that future leaders can participate with us. Certainly, the schools can reach out to us, and we reach out to them as well. We're very proactive with our local school districts and surrounding school districts. But going to our website and just contacting us, we can certainly get you up to speed on any information regarding registration. We certainly work to keep everything that we offer at no cost to students, but of course, there are some activities such as our coding and our sanction racing that there is a cost to it, but through grants and through sponsorships, we're able to alleviate some of that cost. But just contacting us through our website.
Other questions? Robbie, I have one. I
Yes,
was
sir.
hoping that you would come forward,
Yes,
because
sir.
you're the most passionate, giving person I know.
Thank you.
Why did you do this? Why did you start this? Where did this come from?
Absolutely. Well, this started, honestly, I have to be honest, it started as a work assignment, but a work assignment that I quickly recognized was something that we truly needed here in this community. I recognized by my own children being in classrooms, elementary, middle, high school, that there was a little disconnect between what they were learning in the classroom and how that can be applicable once they graduate. And so the idea of being able to bridge that gap by providing information at their level that they can understand, a place where they could come and talk to professionals like all of you about questions that they may have about various careers, or how can they get connected to certain things, I thought was very important. And so that's pretty much how it started, and it continued to evolve into something that kept me up at night, something that I thought about all the time, and I realized that, this was certainly something that we truly needed in our community. Now, with regards to the race, I can't take credit for that. My dad, he lives in New York City. He's been working with young people in Queens, New York with Soapbox Derby for so long. And through the activity of the expo, what we knew was that we wanted to work in closer proximity to young people in the community. And how can we do that? And how can we do it in a way that highlights our efforts of, exposing and inspiring them to STEAM? And so, of course, made the connection between Soapbox Derby racing and all of the STEAM that's wrapped up in that, and how we could really get young people excited and spark their interest about science, technology, math, and at the same time let them do what kids do best, and that's have fun. And so if you're able to present it to them in a way that they can receive it, what we've come to find is that they take in those lessons, they know how to apply those lessons, they know how to speak to the things that you're trying to teach them, and they walk away so much better, so much more confident about what they're learning in the classroom and, what they want their future to look like.
Other questions?
So, Robbie, how do we help you to help the children make the connection from the classroom to the everyday world and beyond for them?
Thank you. Great question. Oh, a lot of great questions today. So how you can help us is reach out to us. Let us know that you're available. We have this expo coming up, and believe me, that is a huge effort to put on either in person or virtually. We're taking on the task of bringing those two together and creating a hybrid. Now, one thing David failed to mention is that this past year, 2022, when we introduced the virtual expo, we had over 5,000 children register for this event, and almost 5,000 that actually showed up over 3 days. That is amazing. But what we do know is that we have amazing room for growth, because of those 5,000 students, 1,507 were from Muskogee County. So that means all of the other areas, they see the value in this and they've connected. Now doing it in person and virtual, the sky is the limit, and so we need people like you to show up, share your passions, share why you chose to go into your various career paths. Talk with them, do a mock interview, and that is how you can help us. And then with the race program, thank you to Muskogee County for working with us so that we have a place to call home. We have a headquarters located on Shepherd Drive. We work there in the workshops, building cars, having fun, teaching science with Dr. Lampkin, who is our educational director. He's actually an engineer, and we're so fortunate to have him. And having people that come out and just work with the children, building the cars, that's a big deal for us. So yes, just reach out to us on our website, connect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Let's give them a hand for being with us. Robbie, both you and David, thank you so much for your passion and what you give and bring to our community. As a token of appreciation for you being here with us today, we'll put a children's book in the local library and graft it with your name on it. And again, thank you so much for what you're doing, because you're investing in, as you said a few minutes ago, the future of Columbus. And let's give them a hand again for. Just a reminder, today's program will actually be both on our Facebook and our YouTube page. And next week's program will actually be Bob Hope. And his theme of his presentation will be Why High Achievers Achieve. So at this point, there's no further business. I call on Past President Michael, if you would come. You would stand with me, and we'll administer our four-way test.
The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you so much. With no further business, we stand adjourned. We want to keep you all here for a photograph.